All right. Again, this is out of the Managing Information Security book. I'm going to cover some of this. Does everyone have background in this area? Okay, a couple of you probably do. Okay, a couple of you probably don't. So I'm going to cover some of the background, but not all of it. Okay. All right. Basically, they talk about information technology. I'm assuming some of you got master's degrees, don't you? Okay, a couple of you have master's degrees. I thought it was kind of funny when I went and got my master's degree. The first course I had to take was Introduction to Computers at the master's level. And they literally said, this is a keyboard, this is the mouse. I mean, I think for the final exam I had to sum up a row and a column in Excel. I was like, what the heck? Well, they said the reason for that was a lot of people don't know what IT is. People get degrees in phys ed, history, so they don't know what IT is. So it's kind of important, okay? But IT, as we know, is everything right now. Okay, it's everything. The vehicle that stores and transports information. Without, like right at the beginning of class today, the internet was down. Now, we could have lived without it, but you ever notice what happens at your work when the internet goes down? I'm assuming all your enrollment system is all done via the web now, isn't it? So if that goes down, what do? Nothing. You pretty much do nothing, so it's tough, okay? All right, it says the concept of computer security has been replaced by information security. It's really a big deal. Computer security is still there, though, okay? We're going to talk about a whole bunch of these issues, okay? All right. It says no longer the sole responsibility of a specific group. Back, years ago, you had the IT people, and they were like God, and it was just a couple of them. But now it's everyone. They're still important, but they got more people involved now, okay? Okay. Basically, everybody has to know a little about security because heck, we all have passwords. They have access to different systems. So basically, everybody has to be involved now, including managers. Okay. I was when I worked at Tinker. We had these accreditation documents. This is back in late '90s. Before you could use a computer system on the Tinker Air Force Base Network, it had to be approved by the commander. Now, I remember we would go and we would do all the checks and get all of it done, do all the paperwork, and he would just sign off on it. Now, I always wondered, did he really have a clue what we did? No, he really didn't. And it kind of bothered me. It's like, we're doing all this, but you also look at it this way, that his name is now the one responsible. So if it is screwed up, who did it? He did. But it'll still flow down to us. But so managers as well nowadays. Okay, all right. It says there's a lot of people out there have to make decisions. We have managers and professionals. Okay, there's a lot of those. Technology managers and professionals. Then we have business. The bottom part here, non-technical business managers and professionals. We all have those at our school. That's the business office. That's the people who really don't know about computers. They important? Heck yeah, because they're the ones that determine if we're going to get a raise or not. But all these are all important, okay? Okay, the InfoSec community, there's a big, huge community. Anyone ever go to conferences? You've probably been to some forensics conference at one point or another. Yeah. But a couple, yeah. DEF CON's a big one. InfoGuard. There's a bunch of stuff going on where you can go learn about this stuff. IT communities. Yeah, it's fun stuff. Go out there and start playing with all this stuff. Okay? All right. Non-technical, it says, articulates and communicates the policies and objectives. We have a policy committee at our campus that met like 4 years ago to work on all these different policies. But they haven't met since. And I asked recently, I says, when's the committee going to meet again? They haven't determined that yet. It's like, what the heck? We also, what do y'all use for student email? Do you guys outsource that to anybody? Do you know? Anybody?
Google.
You use Google? Okay. I've been asking for our school to switch to Google for years. They're still evaluating it. I said, so when's the committee on this evaluation meeting? Well, we haven't set one up yet. So you're evaluating it, yet there's no committee to do it. We use, used to be called Outblaze. I think it still is. Was originally from Amsterdam, and if you know anything about the IT field, if you have an email hosting service from Amsterdam, guess what? All emails flag to spam. Amsterdam is one, other than the Asia Pacific, is one of the largest spam parts in the world. So all of our student emails are getting flagged to spam. IBM just bought them out. Now it's out of New York somewhere, but still, there's big issues with it. We keep saying, why don't we switch to Google? Well, we're not sure if it'll integrate with our system. Everybody uses it now. Why won't it integrate with your system? It's just crazy. But all right. So it's tough, and that's kind of where we're stuck at. All right. Some definitions, okay? Security is defined as the quality or state of being secure to be free from danger. Is that statement, a lot of people take that as the gospel. I don't buy a laptop with McAfee on it. Oh, I'm fine. Yeah, it came with a 90-day McAfee. What happens after 90 days? They don't buy it, they don't renew it, then the stuff gets bad. So it's tough, okay? This is basically means of several strategies. Basically it's how to do this stuff, okay? How are we managing it? And that's pretty much what this course is about, okay? That's a big part of it, okay? Physical security, operational security, communications, all those are important aspects of it now, okay? All right, and also network security. All right. Information security, protection of our information. Okay. There was a young kid, I read on the news 6 months ago, who hacked into one of the schools. I don't know if it was in Oklahoma. I think it was, though. One of the schools, and changed a bunch of grades. I always ask my students, what would happen if someone got in and changed it and gave everybody an A? So it's like, sweet, that'd be awesome. But would it really be awesome? Can you imagine our accrediting body when they hear that someone broke in and gave everybody an A? What good is our degree at that point? It's not. It's like University of Phoenix. That's the only school where we look at their math courses they took, and they take like 5 math courses. I said, nope, you still need college algebra. Where do they teach? That's what our advisement says, that whatever they took, that's not even equivalent to college. What do they teach that's not college algebra? Is it like just 2 plus 2? I don't quite get it. Oh, well. All right. But policies, technology, training, awareness, all that's important. So obviously we're here for the training portion of it. Okay? Awareness. Does anyone ever read articles about technology? I read them every single day. I think that's cool. Stuxnet. It's in the news again. Y'all heard about the Stuxnet virus. When that came out, man, what, 2 years ago? Is it 2 years ago? Maybe 3 years ago? Remember, it first came out, I said, this had to be written by the United States. It had to be. It was written by the United States. Oh, no, it came from China. Y'all read the latest news now. It was made by the United States. So it's, the United States and Israel, they got together, and it's just, if you read the article about it, it's actually very interesting. There's the way they made it, and it's like,
the new flame.
Yes.
The new flame one.
Yeah, that's another one.
Absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, and the flame virus, they say it's actually been out for since 2007,
Yes.
But it didn't do anything. They did that so the antivirus programs assumed it was a good piece of software. It just sat there, did nothing for years. That way, when it came time to activate it, think about it.
Didn't Friday they said that they're seeing that the flame is now uninstalling itself?
Yeah.
Whoever wrote it is now sending communications
Oh,
to say,
jeez.
whoops, we've been discovered, and it's starting to delete itself off.
It's pretty amazing, the stuff
Wow.
that
I think that came out Friday, that they're
Jeez.
starting to see that the flame stuff
they
is...
calculated cryptological collisions
Yeah.
to get it to pass certificate tests and stuff.
It was-
absolutely
yeah.
amazing.
But I always tell people, insiders are a big issue. And if you have a classroom and you got people just sitting there, what if you have a student sitting there and, have you ever taught a class where someone who wasn't in your class was in your class? I've had that where I would go to teach and I'm like, who are you? What are you doing here? But that's kind of what that virus did. It was just sitting there. It was just sitting there for years. And the computer's like, oh, cool. I guess you're okay. We're not going to check on you. And yeah, it's amazing stuff. So, all right, but awareness, kind of cool. And I don't do this in my class. Another one of our faculty does. They require the students to bring in an article every week on technology. Really good idea, but the problem is, if we're going to sit here and discuss 15 people's article on security each week, when are we going to cover anything else? But it is cool. So, all right. And that faculty I'm referring to, it's funny because she's one of our new faculty. taught for the spring for the first time. It's like, all this work. And she's like, oh my God, now I got to grade all this work. So it's tough. So, all right. CNSS. Melissa, you said you wanted to meet with me this week about the CNSS. It's basically a certification program. It's a model of what needs to be covered. And this is actually changing. Right now they have what's called a 4011 through 4016. Everything from ISSO to risk analyst and all those. You can get these certifications. Okay, but that's actually changing because I was at a conference last fall in San Diego, and they were talking about that CNSS 4011 has been out for like 15 years. Okay, and a prime example, the guy says, okay, CNSS 4011 talks about Tempest. Anyone have a clue what Tempest is? Terminal emulation. It's basically the old CRT monitors. You could capture data off of it. There was a guy at OSU Okmulgee I met. He actually came from one of the Career Tech centers. He actually wrote something, a screensaver, that you could get a radio and listen to it on the radio from the screensaver. So it's basically the emulation from the screens. Well, the guy in his talk about that says, okay, he was up there at this conference. He's like, okay, out of the entire federal government, out of all agencies that work with Tempest, there's a total of 100 people. He says, why do we need to train thousands and thousands when there's only 100 jobs to begin with, total? So what they're doing is the new certifications are getting rid of some of that stuff. It's instead of 4011 through 16, it's going to be 4021 through 26, I guess. There's actually a conference going on today in Orlando that Arlene and Eileen are down there, hopefully going to bring back information about the new one so we can go ahead and get certified as well. I was told that pretty quickly here they're going to be open for submissions. So the other ones are still good. It's just that they're going to be going away. So, but the point is here, it brings this model, says we want to be trained on everything. Do we want to? Are we going to be experts in network security? No, but we're going to have a little bit of knowledge in it. Okay. All right. Got the CIA triangle. I asked that in every one of my classes. Confidentiality, integrity, and availability. It's critical. You need to have it. And again, it's in every one of my classes pretty much, and students still get it wrong. But it's one of the big deals. Okay. There's the CNS model. Let's talk about the become cube, but again, that's changing. Okay. Covers the 3 dimensions, which we talked a little bit. And NSTISSC is another way of doing it, but it's actually the older ones. The CNSS replaced those. Okay. Again, all this stuff is going away, but it's just a model of what needs to be covered. Okay. All right. Here's what they talk about how CIA involves with policy, education, technology, and storage and process. So basically, it's everything. Okay. All important stuff. Okay. All right. Confidentiality. Do you all know what confidentiality is? Hopefully you all do. Okay? I would say these 3 topics, confidentiality, integrity, and availability, is probably the 3 most important things you need to get across to your students because they don't know it. Okay? So, basically, the characteristics of information are about only those with sufficient privileges can access certain information. Okay? I award certificates to our students at the end of each semester. And to do that, I have to determine which grades they got in classes. Makes sense. I'm not going to award a certificate if you didn't pass the classes. And since it's certificates that I manage, I have to look those up. Well, I went to the school and said, hey, I need to be able to get their grades. And what I did at one point was they would, okay, after all grades are submitted, they gave me this book. Because I don't know if you guys still do it. Whenever we submit grades, we do 2 copies. 1 copy stays in division, 1 copy goes over to admissions, I guess backup copies. But try going through those books and finding all these grades. It sucks. So I said, why can't I just look at what's submitted into the computer? And they gave me access to it, but they said that the security is not granular enough. They said to give Ken access to see grades, Ken has to have access to see all grades from all classes on the entire campus. In other words, they can't restrict it just to certain classes. So it kind of sucks. But, so really confidentiality at that point, okay, I don't care what people got in English and whatever the nursing program, but I do, if I wanted to, if I was a bad guy, I could go in and see that. So really that confidentiality is out the window at that point. Because I have access to something I really don't need, but they don't have a way to make it better at the moment.
This is where the people are getting pounded by HIPAA.
Yes.
Because somebody famous comes into LA hospital, and then somebody that doesn't need to see those records go in. One person got fired and spent 2 or 3 years in federal jail for
saying stuff.
well, yeah, he leaked it to the press, but was it Paris Hilton or somebody like that?
Yeah, I can see that happening. It's tough, but people just don't understand. Because the neat thing is, it's like the gossip mill. Ooh, Paris Hilton's in the hospital. So what are you going to do? You can tell everybody, hey, Paris Hilton's in the hospital, or whatever, what's going on. So, all right. Information classification, that's important. That's the whole security thing. We're going to talk more about that. Secure storage, where do you store it at? Yeah. A lot of people don't realize, but if in IT, say you make tape backups. I'm assuming you probably still do some of that around here. So you make tape backups. So where do you store the tapes? Do you store them on top of the computer? Some people do. Or do you store it in a safe? But what is the security level of the tape? It should be whatever the security level is of the information. Okay, application policies, education. There's a lot of stuff involved in this. Okay, integrity. It says whole, complete, uncorrupted. Is it really what it should be? Okay, all right. And the damage is destructed. There's just all kinds of issues about integrity. Integrity is very, very important. You would hate for somehow that stuff to be changed. Okay, encryption can occur when it's being compiled, stored, transmitted. Easy enough. And availability. Internet was down this morning. If we had needed it, luckily I transferred these slides. Well, it's back up now anyway. But luckily I transferred these slides ahead of time. But availability is a big deal. If the internet's down, we can't do a lot of work anymore. Okay. Our school went down, probably a couple months ago now, for a power failure for like 10 minutes. And not all the UPSs lasted long enough. So, man, for some reason in my building, I could copy from one machine to another, no problem. But to copy from one to a different computer, I could handwrite the stuff quicker. And they finally ended up finding the route. Something happened in one of the switches that was routing it like who knows where. And it was tough. It was very, very tough. And what ended up happening was we couldn't get our work done. I could literally copy my data to a flash drive quicker, carry it, and copy it back than I could copy through the network. So it was tough. All right? So availability is a big issue. It says, do not imply the information is accessible to any user, but it needs to be accessible to those who need it. Okay? All right. Privacy, another important thing. We want to keep our information private. That's the one reason I didn't like Dropbox. I couldn't set the permissions. You either had full or none. Which sucks. I don't like that. So I always had to keep double copies of everything in case someone went and deleted one of mine. So the other ways are much better now. Okay? All right. Let's see. Identification. That's that whole who they are, what they have, that kind of stuff. Okay? Hopefully you all know what that is. But identification is kind of important. That's login. Does anyone use Google two-factor authentication yet? Let me see if I can use it. Hold on. I'm going to log off of here. Sign out. Alright, now I'm going to sign back in. Hopefully it does it. Hopefully I didn't tell the cache on this machine. Come on. Alright, I'm going to sign in here. Ah, darn it, I kept it. Well, let me close this browser out. Hold on. Try it on this browser. There it is. Okay. I enabled Google two-factor authentication on my Google account. Does anyone else use that yet? Well, you need to. What's cool about it is I need a username and password to get in. Then I need something else. Okay? Username and password, that can get leaked. Y'all, 6.5 million passwords on LinkedIn got leaked out. If you had this enabled, you'd be like, who cares? Take my username and password. Because what happens is, unless I tell it to cache it, like I told this one to cache, I need to uncheck that. But it comes up and I need some sort of code. And for my iPhone, there's the Google Authenticator app. Okay? Just runs on my iPhone. It doesn't connect to any network. It's like an RSA key, if you know what an RSA key is. Okay? And I have to enter this into that box to get in. And this changes all the time. It's got about 20 seconds for it to change again. Watch, I'm going to put in this number too slowly. Come on. It's got 10 seconds left. Okay, it's getting ready to change. Okay, so say I get this number. There it is, and I say verify. Oh, yeah, well, naturally it took it. I did it too quick. But the whole point is, it's something that's generated from my phone. Okay, you can also, instead, if you don't have the application on your phone, it can email it to you, it can text it to you, or it can even call you and tell you a code. So then you could put that in. The reason I did it on my phone is, and it doesn't use cellular data, because I go on a lot of vacations. Like I want to go to Mexico, or actually I'm going to Italy in August, and if I want to check my email, I don't want to have my phone on the data network because it'll be expensive. But that's two-factor authentication. It's available. You just go into Google settings and turn it on. Really cool idea. There's a YouTube video like 5 minutes long about it. It tells you about why you need it. I highly recommend getting it.
What was the app called on your phone?
Oh, it's a Google Authenticator. Yeah, it's free. It's called, yeah, just Authenticator, yeah. Yep. And it generates just like an RSA key. And it's only good for a certain period of time. And you get it. Because, you know, even if you do get my username and password, without that, you're not getting in the system. Okay? But what sucks is you have to have something. Like, you know, the other day I didn't have my phone with me. I went to a computer in my house. I'm like, oh, darn it, I need my phone. So I had to go get my phone to get into the system. So identification is a big deal. Okay? Okay. Authentication, it says control over the process, provide credentials. So who is, you know, can they get in? You know, do you have the right username and password? And that's one reason I did this whole two-factor authentication. Works very well. Okay. Authorization, are you authorized to do it? Just because you got the key, are you actually authorized to do it? That's another thing to think about. Okay. Proper authority to access, update, so on and so forth. Okay. Could be a person or a computer. That's another thing to think about. Because a lot of computers interact with other computers nowadays. Okay? All right. And accountability. This is where a lot of people fail. They don't keep track of it. You know, who did what? Okay? So a lot of times with our students, they'll enroll in classes. See, our online system for enrollment, we use PeopleSoft. I don't know what y'all use. We use PeopleSoft. And we can put prerequisites in for courses. But if you want to log in online or enroll online, you can bypass all prerequisites. But it sucks. If you go see an advisor, they're going to make sure you got the right courses. But if you go online, you can do it yourself, and it doesn't even check. So what happens is our advisors then pull it up and say, oh, you self-advised. You took this, you enrolled in this course at home, blah, blah, blah. So that's one way to use accountability there, but kind of important stuff. Okay? All right. Management. We all know what managers are. People make the big bucks more than we all do. Okay, basically the person in charge. Okay, they're in sort of informational role. And whenever you've been in meetings with managers, it's, you know, I was the faculty senate president a few years ago. I don't know what your school does, but as the president, I had to go to so many other stinking meetings. I had to be on the administrative council. I had to go to all these meetings. Man, so many of them, we just sit there and it's. Talked about stuff that I really could care less. But okay. Interpersonal role, interacting with superior subordinates, outside stakeholders, so working with people. Okay? And discretional role, okay, alternative approaches, other ways to do it. Again, we have managers who do that, but like I was telling you about our email system. The committee hasn't met yet to do that. Yet they've been looking into it for years. We spend $70,000 a year on our email. Do y'all have a clue what you pay Google? Do you know? It's something. I just don't know what it is. It's not totally free for students, but
It used to be $25 a user.
a user. Ours is like something. Oh, it's not a lot, but it's so much a month, and it's like I don't know, but
I had a student in there, a team in the projects.
Right.
Costed out, comparing it, you know, to hosting your own
Right.
versus putting it using Google
Right.
to do it with, and your licensing cost was more, but you didn't have all the equipment.
Right.
Basically, all the cost of setting up the hardware.
Right.
Especially with new version of Exchange because it requires an SQL server.
Right. All that.
That's where you got your cost savings.
Okay.
So licensing was about the same.
Okay.
But you didn't have any hardware cost.
Right, and you don't pay any bandwidth cost or anything.
Right,
So, okay. Well, cool. So, all right. Leaders. Okay. Basically, they lead. Okay. It says lead by example. A lot of people have a problem with that, but and whenever done mystery shopping, you know what I'm talking about? I signed up to do that recently. Man, there's all kinds of stuff I can. It's really awesome. But the reason I bring that up is a lot of times you go to restaurants like Subway. I've had to do a couple for Subway, and the manager's supposed to show the people how to do it quick, but a lot of times they don't. They just forget it. Okay. But that's what you want. You want the leader to lead by example, show everybody how to do it. Okay? All right. Managers themselves, administer the resources, so on and so forth. Okay? Got a couple different kinds. We're going to barely touch on these. Autocratic, no constraints. I was trying to think of an example of one of these. Like to make all decisions themselves. That's kind of like when I ran my own business. I could do whatever I felt like. Okay? If I was the guy who took in the money and spent the money, so I felt like buying something new today, I could buy it. Okay. All right. Democratic. That's what a lot of us have. That's what we have meetings for everything. I remember you. You said over there last time. All right. Maybe less efficient, but meetings are important. Sometimes they actually do work out well. We have our grant. I told you earlier we have a grant. We have 11 people on our grant committee. How easy you think it is to get stuff decided? It's like pulling teeth. School, we're on week 2 now. I don't know if you guys, when did y'all start?
A week ago today.
Okay. So, yeah, we're just starting week 2. I still don't know exactly who's on my grant for this summer. So, it's just a pain in the butt. Okay? Or we have the laissez-faire, the laid-back variety. Okay? Okay. A couple different types of theories of management. Okay? Planning, organizing, staffing, directing, controlling. I've actually been looking into a bunch of what Dell does for their managing, and I am very disappointed in them as a company. And actually, that's why my friend actually a bunch of people are quitting out there. It's terrible because the way they do all that, the way they, I don't know, it's just bad. Okay. All right, we also have the planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. The POLC is another way of doing it. We're going to talk about all these real quickly. Okay. All right. But here we go. The planning, organizing, leading, and controlling, it's a continual process of what you do. It's just a way of managing. Again, we're not going to get into it in depth. But planning is probably the most important one. Okay? You need that more than anything. I'm always amazed at how people can plan stuff that takes multiple years to do it. Like highway construction. I just right over by Johnson County, whatever it was at, 435. I think that thing was under construction like 3-4 years ago. It's still under construction. It's like, what the heck? So I think it will be forever. Okay. But obviously someone planned it. Okay. We had right by where I live in Choctaw, Oklahoma, we had a tornado go through there 2 years ago. Wiped out all the gas stations. And they started building one finally like October of last year. And they opened it up this weekend. And I was all excited because we finally got a restaurant. There's a Wendy's there. I was excited. They're going to be open for service on Sunday. So great. I can try out the brand new Wendy's before I come here. Yeah, it was only for employees only. I was like, oh, you suck. So they opened today, so I didn't even get to try out the new Wendy's yet. But my deal is, they plan these things. They know how to, and we're going to talk more about that when we get to the work breakdown structure. But it's tough being able to manage all that. Okay? Get strategic, tactical, and operational. We have a new health science building at our school. I'd say new. It's probably 2 years old, 3 years old now. But when they originally quoted the deal, the guy who quoted it actually was quoting on using illegal aliens as labor. Then Oklahoma came out with a new law. You cannot hire illegal aliens. So they got way behind on schedule, way over budget, and the school ended up paying for it. And the reason is because I can no longer hire illegal aliens, so now I need to charge you more and take longer. We're like, why would you ever plan to do something illegally? It's just, I still, and it was funny because I was faculty senate president at the time, and I was in the meeting with the regents, and the regents asked the question, why are we paying for his screw up? He should not have hired illegal aliens. And the president said, well, it's too late, I've already paid him. And they're like, why did you pay him without our permission? So I was like, oh boy. And they said, we will table this conversation until later. Because I don't know what ended up happening, but it was, I still couldn't believe the guy planned on hiring illegal aliens. But oh well. All right. All right. Must thoroughly define your goals and objectives. Important there. That's more, like I said, when I was in those meetings as faculty senate president, I was in some where we had to come up with the goals for the year. That's tough stuff. What do you want to do? It's real high-level stuff. Okay. Okay. Organizing. Okay. The structure of the resources. How are we going to do it? How are we going to get everything to work? How are we going to meet our objectives? Okay. That's leading. We talked about leadership already. Okay. Supervising employee behavior. We hired a lawyer, the head of our HR department. Wow, that was tough. She actually went and rewrote a lot of our policies. Our drug enforcement policy went from a paragraph to like 14 pages. It was tough. It was I don't know. It's tough. Okay. But behavior, performance, attendance, attitude, all that stuff goes into leading. Okay? Okay. Controlling, monitoring the progress toward the completion. Are you actually doing it? Are you getting it done? I like watching those shows like Extreme Engineering or Mega Builders, where they go build these huge buildings, and it's just amazing that they actually get it to actually come together. I like watching them build ships, like cruise ships and stuff, where they build parts all over the world sometimes. The London Eye, y'all know what the London Eye is? There was a show about that. They were actually showing that the glass, portions of it came from one country, other portions came from another country. If I had built that, there ain't no way they'd ever fit together. It would never work. But they actually fit perfectly together. I still don't understand how they do that, but that's a portion of this. Okay? All right. And then, basically, the validity of your plan. Make sure it works. And it's a process that goes around again and again. We're not going to focus on that. Problem solving. Okay, recognize problems, gather facts, develop the solution, analyze, and then select, implement, and solution. Does it always work? No. Sometimes you have to go over it again. Okay? All right. And then here's the P's that belong with it: the planning, the policy, the procedures, protection, people, and project management. And the last one's the important one we're going to talk about. Planning. Okay? It's a big issue nowadays, especially with funding. Back when I ran my company, I had a client who bought e-machines. Anyone know what an e-machine is? It was literally the cheapest machine you could possibly buy, and they were wondering why they were slow, why they kept breaking. And it was funny because I did the work for two different aircraft title companies. They were, I don't know, they both did the same thing, just two different companies. One bought e-machines, and it was just crazy. Every time they print out something, they do it in multiple copies on multiple different colored paper. Yet the other company bought really top-of-the-line machines. Everything was done electronically, made tons of money. So it was really different, on how they planned for it. But the cheapy one, I went to one day, I said, these machines are dying. They're like, but why? Like, they're e-machines. And I said, they're over 5 years old now. Well, but they should still work. I said, no, you need to buy new machines. A lot of people didn't, now I would say most companies realize they need money for IT. But think 10 years ago, did anyone actually have IT budgets? Not really. They might have. Now, if I remember right, was Kansas one of the states that, not Kansas, we're in Missouri, aren't we?
We are.
Wait, which one are we in? We're Missouri, okay. I just never remember, okay. But, didn't we, is yours the state that pays the IT fund first? Maybe it was one of the schools. One of the classes I taught for CSEC, somebody in the class said that when the budgeting comes out, the IT budget's paid off the top, 100%, and then the money is divided up amongst everything else.
Wow, that'd be cool.
Yeah, it was somebody. Who was it? I don't know. It was one of the students in the class. But yeah, that would be awesome if we could. But, oh well. That's life. All right. So planning a big issue. Okay. Lots of plans out there. Okay. Incident response plan. Again, we looked for some of this stuff at my school, and they don't have a lot of it. Risk management, security program plan. There's just lots of planning involved. Policies. Another thing that's very important. I actually met with our CIO at our school about the policies as they pertain to IT, because we actually got a little bit of money to hire an information assurance specialist to work with that. And we asked him, where's your policies? He's like, they're in our head. We just know them. I said, yeah, but they need to be written down. He goes, yeah, but we only have a small group. There's only like 10 people that work in the main area of IT. He says, we don't write it down because we all know it. I still cannot get that into his head. I don't care if you know it or not. It still needs to be written down. Because I said, what happens if all of you would get wiped out? Like, you all go to luncheon together. Well, Mike over near the building knows it. It's just, they literally have none of this. They have no policies in place, and it's tough, okay? All right. Okay, we have the enterprise security policy with the issue specific and also systems specific. It's basically different levels. What do we do at the school? What do we do, if something happens? What do we do for specific systems? So there's just not a lot of that out there, okay? All right, programs. There's a lot of programs out there to help manage this stuff, and we're actually going to talk about a couple of them here in a minute, okay? But physical security programs, I talked about guards, gates. We just, what do you do in that area? There's a lot of programs out there. Protection, what do you do? What do y'all use for antivirus here at your school? Do you know? Forefront? That's not the Microsoft one, is it? Yeah. Okay. We just switched to that one. Okay. I couldn't remember the name of it. Yeah. Yeah, that's basically the enterprise version of Security Essentials then. Right. Okay. Yeah, we switched to that, I'd say, in the last week. Thank God. I was McAfee. I don't know about you guys. That was the biggest memory overhead, and it was tough. Yeah, we just switched to that last week, so that's good. Or maybe 2 weeks ago. So, all right. But protection's a big issue. What do you have there to get your job done? Okay. All right, people. People are always the weakest link, I would say. I actually went to Walmart recently, went to use the restroom, and someone had gone into the stall. It's not gross, don't worry. And I guess they had put on a bunch of brand new clothes because all the tags were there on the floor, and there was a bunch of bottles of NyQuil that were empty. So I'm assuming they put on new clothes, downed a couple bottles of NyQuil and left. I mean, you could tell they were new because when they got the plastic wrap on them, it was still there, and they were all empty. I'm like, wow, So I went and told somebody, I said, you got to go in there because someone just stole a bunch of clothes and a bunch of NyQuil. So it's, yeah, it was bad. But people's a big issue. Okay, are they trained? Do they know what they're doing? We have a lady, Mary, who works for us. She's an older lady. She's the sweetest lady in the world, but she's not very technical. She has the entire monitor covered with sticky notes on the sides of everything to do. But, people's a big issue. So, all right. Project management. All right, I'm going to actually show you something in a minute. But the project management, if you want to make some money right now, that's the place to do it right now. In case you're wondering. I actually went through a Microsoft project class on doing this stuff years ago. And it's tough. And it's pretty tough stuff. Okay. All right. So information security is a process, not a project. It's something you do all along. It's the procedures, it's the policies, it's everything. It's all the people. It's all put together. Okay. All right. Here we go. We got all of our chained. Everything needs to be together for it to work. Okay. I'm covering some of this just a little bit quickly, but that's all right. Okay. Planning, executing, controlling, and closing. All this stuff is what happens in project management. Everything from designing it to scheduling it to getting the project finished. Okay. So it's first, identify your project. Okay. The project management body of knowledge is out there. You can see what people have done to do it correctly. Do you guys cover Microsoft Project at all in any of your classes? That's the one thing our advisory committee, when we met, our advisory committee said they want people to be trained in Microsoft Project. Because that is the big deal right now. That is the #1 certification on the market right now, in case you're wondering. But, yeah, Microsoft Project, that's what everybody wants. So, yeah, I mean, it's an awesome tool. I mean, it's excellent. It's just that, that's how they do everything nowadays. We're going to look a little bit about that in a minute. Okay. There's different areas that have all kinds of information. Basically, the point is there's lots of stuff out there already, so use it. Okay. All right, a bunch of different areas in it. The development, the monitoring, the controlling, all that stuff. There's information out there already to go look at. Integration, control, there's all there. Okay. The project development, again, I'm not teaching Microsoft projects. We're not going in depth on this, but core components of the project, all this stuff is put together. Okay. All right. Let's see. Okay. Well, here's the scope of the project, and we're going to see an example of one. So in a minute. Okay. And there's like 80 slides on this, so that's why I'm going to go through this kind of quick. We'll be here forever. Okay. Deadlines, a big issue there. Okay, is a big issue with a lot of places. I was driving through Texas recently, and I noticed Texas works at nights and on weekends and everything else. I don't know about you guys, but in Oklahoma, I think they work on the highways between 8 and 4, and that's it. They only work on it when there's traffic, but they never do it at nights.
Late at night too. Like if I teach night class,
Yeah.
I go home 10:30 at night on 4:35.
But they're doing it though. But ours, they don't do work at night. My point is they don't.
Yeah.
I-
Here they do both.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Texas.
It's 24/7.
Kansas is 7 to 9,
Sometimes it
Yeah.
feels like that.
4 to 6.
10:30, 11 at night.
Just the rush hour times.
Oh yeah, that's handy. I see that. Yeah. Was it in California when they had that bridge went out? They paid him like billions of dollars in bonus because they got done early or something. There was a big deal about that. It's just, yeah, I don't know. Be nice, but all right. But we're going to see a work breakdown structure here in a second. It'll show us all this information. Okay. All right. They talk about budgeting for it. That's a big issue. What money are you spending on it? Okay. Resource planning, cost estimating. Actually, while I was on the way up here yesterday, I had my insurance agent come to look at my roof. I'm getting a new roof. My house is 12 years old now. I'm going on my 4th roof. So we always get hit with hail. I don't know what the deal is. It was funny. The guy came out there about 2 weeks ago. He's like, all right, you got some hail damage on me, okay? He says, we're going to fix it all for free. It ain't going to cost you a penny. What do you mean? He goes, we're going to eat your deductible and everything. Not going to cost you a penny. So he came out and showed me everything, brought the owner. I said, so what are you going to do? He said, all this stuff. I said, but what do I get out of this deal? He goes, you're getting a new roof. I said, yeah, any roofing company will do that. But what I get out of this deal? So they're also siding my little building in the back. So I want some free siding on this building. So they're eating my deductible and siding my buildings. That's handy. But yeah, yesterday they came out and looked at my roof yesterday. 4:30 in the afternoon was on my way up here. $20,500 replaced my roof. Isn't that crazy? And,
You must have a huge house.
well, it's 2,100 square feet, but I also have a small.
You have high pitches? Yeah. You have
Yes.
high pitches, you pay extra for that.
That's why. Yes, I do.
That's hazardous.
But I also have another small little building. Plus, I have a metal building with a carport they got to do part of.
They
And I,
can't hire any illegal agents.
yeah, that's true. Here,
What's
I'll-
wood shake or timberline?
it's asphalt shingle. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Show you what it looks like. 20,500. Because it was funny. They come on. The lady said, "I'll just go out to my car and write the check." But she was out there an hour and they came back and says it's too much. I can't write a check for that amount. It's like, wow. This is my house right here. You see it?
Yeah, you got high pitches. A lot of different.
All right.
You're paying for the.
See these here? These are solar panels. These aren't damaged, so I don't have a clue how they didn't get damaged. But they're going to have to pull off the solar panels. By the way, the pool is blue now instead of green. But they're going to have to they're redoing this shed here, and they're redoing this carport. There's a carport right here on the side, right here. So they're going to redo all that. $20,000. I'm like, geez. But yeah, so, but I bring that up because she was out there in a car for an hour, obviously doing all this, coming up with the budgeting, what she's willing to pay. And I had farmers. Now I don't anymore, but farmers was fine when I had them. But when I had farmers, I had a roof replaced, and they actually came to me and said they did not give enough money to the contractors. I guess the contractors have to, go by whatever the cost of the equipment plus labor, and somehow it said that if the contractor had to hire more than 2 subcontractors, which he hired a roofer, the gutter person, and I don't know, someone else. But basically, I qualify. Well, I didn't, but they didn't get enough money. So there was a class action lawsuit against farmers to pay out more money. So I contacted my roofer guy and said, hey, dude, if you want more money, go do all this paperwork. I ain't doing it for you. But it's tough. But there's a lot of planning that goes into all this. And I still don't know how, sitting in my driveway for an hour, she determined it's going to be like $20,500 something dollars.
There's special software that does that, because I've worked on it.
That's tough. But even removing my solar panels and reinstalling them, it's got to be in there.
Like it automatically pulls up those things. It's an estimator, so I can't remember what it's called.
That's cool. So yeah, they're.
Yeah, they can come up with it pretty quick now.
Yeah, I don't know, but I guess it happened up here because there's a whole bunch of insurance cars on the highway coming up here too. Y'all have about a lot of hail damage up here too? Tornadoes or something?
We haven't had it like you have.
No, because something by the cattle pens on 35, man, there's a whole fleet of insurance cars driving up toward this way. I don't know, but yeah, we had a bunch, and I don't know. Okay, but obviously a lot of planning goes into that. All right, quality management is another thing. Are you actually getting what you pay for? Make sure it's done correctly. Okay. Okay. It says a good plan defines project deliverables in unambiguous terms. Okay, what are they? We don't want something. Well, just stick a roof on there. All right. All right, the human resource management, I don't do anything in that area, but how do people figure into this scenario? Okay, then there's our communications. Okay, distribution, classified. How does all the communication happen? Okay, all right, and risk management. We have an entire certification on risk management, the assessment, mitigation. How is all that handled? And I was actually thinking about, this roof is going to cost me or cost the insurance company $20,000. I pay $1,200 a year. It's basically we're talking 10 or about 15 years before they get the money back. And I'm on my 4th roof. And I know they paid that much each time. And the last time they actually replaced my entire middle building because it got hit so bad. And mine is all insulated, so they actually had to dismantle the building, re-insulate it all, and it's like, I don't know how they're making any money on me with homeowners insurance. They can't. Because if I'm on 4 roofs, and figure if they only cost $20,000 a piece, that's $80,000. So that's a lot of money. All right. All right. Project procurement. Okay. The needed project resource. Do you have the money? When the builder got whatever the roofing guy said, once I get the check in, they will go ahead and order the equipment or whatever the stuff, and then start changing my roof. Okay. All right. A lot of tools out there, and there's certifications in this as well. You can go to week-long classes just in project management. Okay. Okay, and they're going to start talking about some of the different projects. Here's Microsoft Project. This is what it looks like. Okay. You ever see Microsoft Project? What's cool about this, you can have certain things that have to wait till something else is finished so they can actually link together. So when one task is done, the next one starts, and so on and so forth. Or you can have where multiple tasks start. I took an entire class on this, and I had to do part of this for one of my degrees, I forget which one. And the OSU degree now actually has a class that they do one aspect using Microsoft Project. So I recommend incorporating it somewhere in your program. I don't know where, but I said when our advisory committee met, we said, what is the main thing we're not doing? This is, we need project management. I'm like, okay. It says, yeah, we need people trained in it. So just something to think about. So it might be the same up here. Okay. Work breakdown structures, which is kind of what we're looking at there. It's really a Gantt chart. But work breakdowns is a simple planning tool. Okay, each task is listed. Okay, then with each task tells you what's going to be done. I've had my students in the past design a network. I tell them, what I do is I take the blueprints of the building where I work, and I tell them, okay, install a network for me. Just worry about the network. They have to come up with all the tasks, run the wiring, put on the wall plates, all that. So they have to come up with all the stuff they need to do. All right. All right, let's see. Capital and non-capital, in other words, money. How much money is it going to take to get this done? What work's going to be done? The amount of effort. Okay. Okay. And it's all in the work breakdown structure. And we're going to see one here in a second. Okay. There's examples of it. Okay. Here's one I want to show you. All right. I brought one with me. Again, I will give you access to all these files so you can see them. Okay, this is an example of a work breakdown structure. Goes into all of it, details out everything, and here you are. Here's all the different tasks. It literally lists all the tasks. Again, this is a sample. So, all the different tasks, how they have to be done, what level they are, which one comes after what. So, pretty detailed stuff. So, that will be included in your document as well. And while I'm here, let me show you this real quick. This is the top paying, this is for 2012, the top 15 paying IT certifications. And number 1, you see that? I don't know if you can see that. Make it a little bigger. Project Management Professional, $111,000. That's the number 1 certification right now. Anyone have a PMP certification?
As long as you combine that with a few years of experience.
Yeah, experience is also a good idea.
That can be misleading.
But still, I mean,
That's where my foster mom was for IBM.
but you know, Chesapeake Energy.
But you got to have the experience.
Chesapeake Energy was looking to hire some SCADA people. Actually, a couple of my students applied there to work at Chesapeake. And all they wanted was, do you know what SCADA is? I mean, because they said, you know, right now there's no one with any SCADA knowledge. So OSU actually teaches a class that has a component on SCADA, which is similar to what Robert does and all those. But they said, yeah, if you've had any SCADA training whatsoever, we want you. And it was funny, they actually were going to hire 3 of our students, but then the project got postponed. Like, oh, you're killing me. So it's going to be great. So, but all right. So project management's number 1, CISSP is number 2. So how much money should I be making? I should be making $110,000. Well, that sucks. I'm not making $110,000. All right. CCDA, the Cisco Certified Design Associate. You guys do Cisco? There you go. There you can go get that certification. $101,000. ITIL, that is a big thing right now. And just so you know, only have to get a 65% to pass the certification. ITIL, so that's another one. Yeah, one of my students who just got hired at Tinker, they need to get this in the near future. So, $97,000. MCSE, that one's been out for years. Okay. Okay. VCP, VMware, Certified Professionals, $91,000. CCNP, Cisco Certified Professional. Then Server Plus, that's still pretty good. Okay. Number 8. MCITP, Microsoft Certified IT Professional. They keep changing the darn names of their certifications. It's driving me crazy. Because I got a bunch of them, but not that one yet. All right, there's your CCNA, Cisco. MCSE, Microsoft Systems Admin. Then there's Security Plus from CompTIA. That's a big one. A lot of places want that. A lot of companies, they want you to get that. MCP, Certified Professional. Then we got another Cisco certification, the CCENT. Then Network Plus. Which one's missing? A Plus. But I'll tell you what, everybody still wants it. If you right now to get hired on Tinker as a contractor, you must have the A Plus. So I don't know why it's not listed. Funny thing is, I don't know anyone who really requires a Net Plus anymore. I mean, well, again, I don't really put people in jobs for networking. That could be why. But A Plus is another good one. So. If those are, you know, project management was number 1. All right, we're almost done with this. Okay. Basically, with tasks, you can do the sequence. You can do this first, do this second, do this third. How long are they going to take? And once you finish with C, then you can start D and E, so on and so forth. Okay. There's our evaluation technique. They're talking about how to evaluate it. Did it work well? You know, how long did it take? What activity occurs? Okay. What happens immediately afterwards? Okay. And determine the critical path. In other words, what has to happen. The critical path is what has to happen for it all to work out well. If you don't order the stuff in, obviously you can't install it. Okay. Slack time, you put excess time in there. That's always needed. Okay. Okay. All right. Let's see. Advantages. Makes your projects easier. We're just about done with this section. Disadvantages. hard. The diagrams suck. They're very hard to work with. Okay, there you go. Basically, you got to figure out your critical path, where you're going, and basically the one down the middle is a critical path in this example. Okay, right? Just hard to understand. Gantt charts, we already looked at one, but they're easier to understand. Here they are. You can show the different tasks, when they start, when they end. And after task 1 goes, then task 2 and 3 and 4 can start. And it's very easy to work with. So if you've never played with Project, you should. Okay. All right, again, here they talked about Microsoft Project. It says the program is no substitute for a skilled and experienced project manager. There's that experience deal. You might have certification, but experience is always helpful. Okay. All right, there's some of the certifications. Again, I showed you a more updated one just a minute ago. All right, and that's the end of this chapter. We definitely need a break. All right, let me figure out how to stop this now. Stop.